Imagine an engine that has survived fire, floods, and decades of total neglect, and yet, against all odds, it roars to life. You might think it's impossible, but this story is a remarkable testament to the resilience of machines and the dedication of those who refuse to give up on what seems lost forever. 1. The discovery, forgotten in time. It all began in a quiet, overlooked corner of a dilapidated barn. The building was barely standing, the roof sagging, and the floor littered with debris from years of abandonment. Among the remnants of old tractors, rusting tools, and broken vehicles, there was one engine that seemed almost forgotten by time itself. Dust and cobwebs covered its metal surfaces, and corrosion had begun to claim the weaker parts. Most people would have walked past it without a second glance, assuming it was just another piece of scrap. But this engine was different. It had a story. It had survived not only decades of neglect, but also a devastating fire that had charred the barn and a flood that had submerged the property. Even after such catastrophic events, the engine's core, the block, pistons, and crankshaft were surprisingly intact. The owner, curious and hopeful, wondered, could this engine, which had endured so much, really be restored? That question marked the beginning of a journey that would push patience, skill, and determination to their limits. 2. Signs of fire damage, scorched but standing. The first major challenge was the fire damage. Flames had blackened the exterior of the engine, melting rubber hoses, seals, and wiring. The barn itself was almost unrecognizable, and the heat had left its mark on every surface. Most people would have assumed the engine was a total loss. But upon closer inspection, the restoration team noticed something remarkable. The engine's cast iron block and steel components had survived. Metals like cast iron can endure extreme heat, even when plastics and rubber perish. The pistons, crankshaft, and cylinder walls had absorbed the heat but weren't warped or cracked. This discovery was crucial. It meant that, with careful cleaning, replacement of damaged parts, and lubrication, the engine had a real chance of running again. The team knew that success would require patience and precision, as one misstep could undo all progress. It was a lesson in resilience. Even after the destructive force of fire, the engine's true strength lay beneath the charred exterior, ready to be revived with the right touch. 3. Overcoming flood damage, submerged in adversity. The second obstacle was a flood. Water had crept into every nook and cranny of the engine, bringing mud, silt, and contamination into places that should have remained sealed. Flood damage is often worse than fire. It accelerates corrosion, contaminates internal passages, and can ruin every system it touches. To address this, the restoration team dismantled the engine piece by piece. Each component was carefully cleaned, rust removed, and corrosion treated. Bolts, nuts, and small parts that had been damaged beyond repair were replaced. The pistons, which initially appeared corroded, were polished and measured to ensure proper tolerance. This painstaking process required patience and attention to detail. Every small step mattered, because even a minor mistake could render the engine unusable. By the time cleaning and rust treatment were completed, the engine block looked surprisingly pristine, almost like a relic restored for a museum display. However, appearance was only half the battle. The true challenge was ensuring that all internal systems functioned as intended. An engine can look perfect on the outside but still be dead on the inside. 4. The years of neglect, battling time. If surviving fire and flood wasn't enough, this engine had also been abandoned for decades. Time is cruel to machinery. Oil dries up, seals harden, and moving parts seize. For an engine left idle for years, even the strongest metals can face permanent damage if not carefully handled. Restoring it required meticulous care. Penetrating oils were applied to loosen frozen components. Gentle heating was used to expand stuck parts, and each piece was moved carefully to prevent breakage. Patience was critical. Any sudden force could crack pistons, bend rods, or damage bearings beyond repair. Every part was treated as a puzzle piece, cleaned, lubricated, measured, and reassembled. Bolts, bearings, and seals were checked for integrity and replaced when needed. Slowly, the engine began to take shape again. This stage was about more than mechanics. It was about respect for the machine and understanding how years of neglect can be reversed with the right approach. It highlighted a timeless truth. Even something seemingly lost can regain life with effort, knowledge, and perseverance. 5. The restoration process, step by step. Restoring this engine was a delicate dance between patience and expertise. The team meticulously disassembled every part, cataloging them for reassembly. Pistons were polished, cylinder walls honed to perfection, and valves scrubbed to remove years of grime and carbon deposits. All damaged gaskets and seals, destroyed by fire or dried from neglect, were replaced. The fuel and ignition systems, often the first casualties of fire or water, were rebuilt from scratch. Bearings, bolts, and nuts were inspected, polished, or replaced entirely. This wasn't just restoration, it was a rebirth. Lubrication was applied with care, and oil channels were flushed to remove contaminants. Compression tests were run repeatedly to ensure each cylinder could hold pressure. Every step, no matter how small, brought the engine closer to life. Finally, the moment of truth arrived. After weeks of painstaking work, the team prepared to start the engine. The air was thick with anticipation. Could this machine, which had endured fire, flood, and decades of neglect, actually run again? The answer would define the success of their efforts. 6. The moment it roared, triumph against all odds. With a deep breath, the starter was engaged. At first, the engine hesitated, producing a low, uncertain grind. Then, slowly, it caught. Pistons began to move, oil pressure built, and the engine came alive with a deep, powerful roar. The sound was more than mechanical. It was proof that resilience, patience, and human skill could overcome what seemed impossible. Witnesses were amazed. This once-forgotten engine, scorched by fire, submerged in floodwater, and abandoned for decades, had come roaring back to life. It wasn't just a machine running. It was a symbol of determination and careful craftsmanship. This moment taught an invaluable lesson. No matter how dire the circumstances, the right combination of effort, knowledge, and persistence can revive even the most damaged systems. 7. Lessons from the engine, resilience in action. This engine's journey teaches several powerful lessons. First, appearances can be deceiving. What looks broken, ruined, or hopeless may still have potential waiting to be realized. Second, patience and expertise are crucial. Restoration isn't about rushing. It's about methodically addressing every obstacle with care. It also emphasizes the brilliance of engineering. Machines are built to endure, often far more than we expect. Even after fire, flood, and long dormancy, the core structure can remain functional if treated properly. Finally, it is a story of hope and perseverance. Just as this engine refused to die, we can approach challenges with determination and skill. Like, share, and subscribe.